So today I want to do a quick shop tour. This is my shop. It's an old plastic molded greenhouse. They're fairly inexpensive, really easy to set up, very lightweight. I've got it raised off of the floor on these little stands so that I've got about 6 inches of clearance under the walls all the way around, which gives me 360-degree ventilation. I can blow it out with a leaf blower when I need to dust, and instead of using a broom, just agitating stuff, I'll just blow it all back out underneath and keep the outside area clean too. There's the propane and the oxygen sitting outside. They probably ought to be chained up, I suppose, so it doesn't fall over, but I don't want it to take the shop with it, so I'm not chaining it to it. Anyway, let's go inside real quick. Let's see here. There's miscellaneous tools. There's a little tool holder on the wall. Various entertainment and information devices. Glass supplies come in on the left. When they're big, I start them off up here and cut them down. They fit into the old wine rack, or up on top of the kiln there are some metal racks that I can put the tubes in when they're hot, when I've cut things in half or quarters and I don't want them sitting on a table and getting contact cooling. I'll place them there. Now I've got a fan behind me, and then I've got a fan in front of me too, and between the two of them I get a nice flow through here, and again I've got that 360-degree airflow from around the floor. I'll sit down with the torch here. Oh, on top I have a National 6B, which I use when I need a big flame. Most of the time I'm working on this bottom smaller torch, which is a Victor style torch. This is actually a Victor in this case. And I've got a little marvering pad out here that I really like this design. It's really effective at chiseling different shapes in, marvering things down. I can flare a small tube open on this side while I'm marvering down a larger tube on this side, so that I can weld the two together where they meet in size and back that right against that back plate, and it'll make a nice, really clean weld, which I'll show in another video coming up soon. The glove, I use that for wiping the dust off of pieces when I pull things out of the kiln. That's about all, and it protects my right leg, which is really the exposed one, because if you see here, there's only a little bit of surface table to the left, and everything that goes there clamps down with magnets so that it stays where I put it and it doesn't fall off. Including the rollers. Rollers are nice if you want to work with a lot of tubing, especially larger diameter stuff. And then you can use the rollers to line everything up and guide that. And again, I would go down here and flare that one out while marvering that one down in size, so that the two meet up, weld up nicely, and then drop them over there to back them. And then I could even leave it in there and blow it in place while it's still on the roller, to get it nice and clean without distorting it and tweaking it around too much. So let's see here. Oh yeah, we've got our claws here. Got to have claws. Plenty of tweezers. Here's a pair of flat masher tweezers. Use those an awful lot. Little grabber tweezers. I use those for silver fuming. Just grab a whole big chunk of silver and fume off of that. We'll get into that later. Little tiny tweezers. Got to have little tiny ones. Those are great for well, I don't know, putting gold on for clear rod for puntee to fume gold, because I don't use big chunks of that. Wow, I wished I could. Let's see here. We've got the Octagonal brass Reamer, really good for opening up holes and flaring things out nice and even. Incidentally, that 1/2 inch thing right there is just about perfect for a 9.5 down stem with a grommet on it kind of a device if you want to size out. Just a conical tapered reamer. It's great for flaring things and plugging up holes, so that I can use a blow hose or blow into the other end. If it's already got one large hole, that can plug it up. couple of bowl pushes, flat marvering pad, little texturing tool, diamond pattern on this side, little scallop design on that side, and then a couple of octagonal reamers. This one here is sized up for a grommet on a 12 mil down stem opening. This one here is set up for a 9.5 on a grommet opening. So they each have their reference marks for other projects too. You can see from the past that there are different projects I needed specifically different size holes, and so that's a great way to marver them down to just the right size. Little dental tool. You always need a dental tool for getting in little pushing stuff around, pulling and prodding. This here, I don't really use it as a scoring tool. It's got a few sharp edges which actually work pretty good when you want to like get in there and grind off some glass and make it snap nice and easy. But what I do tend to use it for is an impact tool like this. When I finish off a piece and cut it off, I'll take the little bit of hot glass that's there and ball it up and marver it down into here where it folds over onto itself just a little bit, maybe a 1/4 of an inch or even a little less. And that way, when I'm done and these are cooled down and I want to remove those, I don't score and snap this little mess on the end and possibly cut my finger. I can just do this and they tap off really, really nice and clean. And it's super fast, you know. Here's 4 of them. Yep. And so now I've got 4 tubes cut and ready to use again as handles on the next set of projects. Oh, there's another texturing tool. That's actually a thread file. It's got 8 different thread variations on it, and it's great for putting textures on various things. A couple of earplugs. You might want to use those for stopping up tubing if you're blowing into another portion of it, or you know, you need to stop off that airflow from the other end. Let's see, and this little water receptacle up here, that's my garbage. When I tap stuff off and break it, it goes in there. I don't want to have broken glass sitting around grinding against each other and creating dust. Again, trying to keep a clean shop, trying to eliminate broken glass dust all over the place, and especially in my lungs. So that's the goal there. And the little bit of silver that's in there, that's just a good place to keep it, so it's handy for whenever I want to fume stuff. Most of the stuff just lifts right out. It's easy to take this whole thing apart. I can lift this whole torch up. It's got little foot pedals on it to control everything, and I can just set it outside. Then I can come in here and hose everything down with a water hose and leaf blow it out, and it's nice and clean. Then I'll bring my tools and equipment back in. It takes less than an hour to completely clean this thing out and hose down the interior, and it makes such a nice clean feeling to be in your shop and have that coolness. Okay, let's see. The kiln over here, that's an old AIM kiln. I like it. It works really well. It's been very reliable. It has no pyrometer, you'll notice, but it does have a cup of coffee, or sometimes a cup of tea, and sometimes nothing at all, because after 15 to 20 years you ought to be able to look into a kiln, feel around it, feel near the door, and even from the behavior of your pieces going in and out, not to mention the flavor and the temperature of the coffee or tea, will totally tell you if your kiln is running at the normal temperature. and it works very reliably. I've seen people misled by pyrometers that are going errant for whatever reason, and they've melted their stuff or let it crack. So, you know, just be aware of what your kiln is doing. You should be able to feel a fairly minor variation pretty easily. Okay. Hey, marvering pad for marbles. I generally only use the back side of it here as a big flat spot. Sometimes I would use that, but most of the time if I want to make a marble, I really prefer this thing here. It's just a piece of hickory, not very thick, and I cut it on the bandsaw to make kind of a handle and blade shape, and drilled some various thick diameters of holes in it, and worked a marble on top of each one. And that burned off the edge and gave it the bevel. The more you work with it, the more beveled it gets, until one day it's too beveled and you gotta go cut out another one. Really inexpensive to make and super useful. With the soaked water component, when you're resting glass on there and spinning it, it will float frictionless on the steam that blows up, and on what little bit of carbonized wood there's very little pathway left in your glass. Super easy to fire polish after rounding a marble off in these wood-soaked wooden handled paddles. Water, you want to keep some of that around. I use it to top off my little water thing here, and myself. So let's see, we went over the tools, that, we got this, oh, blacklight, hey, that's great. See, we're using that because we need to be able to see, come on there. Uh-oh, time for black, oh, there it is. See, now we can see which ones are which, otherwise it's kind of hard to do when you're working. Got a pan of vermiculite over here. That stuff's been there for, well, many years. Keep it clean and keep a lid over it. You'll be able to use it indefinitely. And try not to breathe it, not good for you. Well, let's see, I think I'm going to cut this one there. That's a quick overview of my shop, the equipment I work with. And we'll get into some projects here really soon. Thank you. I hope you like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.